person who we have been working with to coordinate another episode for each one of you. And just like you, I'm here learning about this amazing world of customer success, and what a best way to do this by having amazing conversation with our amazing people, experienced people who are also passionate about this world, customer success, and even going beyond customer experience. That is a big world. Actually, talking about customer experience, we're going to take this a little bit more from customer success. We're going to go to the customer experience side. And today's episode is titled, Let's Make Our Customer Feel Seen, Heard, and Valued. We have with us Ali Cudby. You have 20 years of experience in the customer experience world, Ali. After you graduated from business schools, you joined the New York Times planning group, and later you work in strategic marketing for major companies like Animal Planet TV. Until one day you decide, it's time for me to have my own company, and you created your AlignMINT Growth Strategies, where you help companies achieve long-term growth. Actually, you named your company after your methodology called MINT, and we're going to talk about that as well, Ali. So we have a lot to talk about, but first of all, thank you very, very much for volunteering and being here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Amazing. And I see you have a really nice background with a beautiful dog, right?
Yeah.
Or it must be a really big cat otherwise.
No, it's a dog, and hopefully she'll stay nice and quiet back there. But if she doesn't, then I apologize in advance.
It will be another guess. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And besides that, you also have your big image of your book, because you are the author of the #1 best-selling book, Keep Your Customers, which I have here with me. So if you are on YouTube, you're going to see this book, and there are some notes here as well. Ali, I'm in page 109. So when this is going to be released, probably I'm going to finish the book.
Great. I love that you've got it all like tabbed like that. That's amazing.
I really enjoyed your book. I really recommend everyone to read it. It's going to be in the description of this episode, where you can find Ali's book. It gives you a lot of tactical advices into how you can make your customers loyal. And there are even categories of loyal customers. And I also learned that there are some strategies like the welcome package, and when it comes to goals, and also the bullseye. What is that? There's just too much, but I really enjoyed it and recommend everyone to read it. Let's talk a little bit about MINT, because your company is called after your methodology, and you created this methodology. What is MINT about?
Yeah, so the MINT method is, and the company is called AlignMINT, so it's spelled MINT, not alignment, MENT. And the MINT method is named named in coordination with the company. So it's a 4-letter acronym, and each of the letters stands for an important step in the process of making customers stay with you for the long term, because loyal customers are the really high value customers, are the ones that you want to keep. And the approach is, so M stands for make a mantra. And since you read the book, you read the part about the bullseye. And really, this mantra is a phrase or a way of talking about who your company is when it comes to the customer. Because a lot of times companies have like a mission and a vision and values when it comes to the company, but it's really helpful to make that same articulation for who you are on behalf of your customers. It's helpful for everybody who works in the company to be able to have something that they all aim for together, and that's the bullseye. And the mantra is the phrase that you use to aim for that bullseye. So that's M. And then I is identify your ideal customers. The reason that's so important is because when you're really clear about who you're selling to, you are able to speak more clearly to them in language that cuts through all of the clutter in the sales and marketing space. And so that's really helpful when you're doing everything from sales and marketing, but also even coming up with new product features. So I knowing who you're selling to, really being able to speak to them and speak their language is so important. And then also very important for CS people. If CS teams are trying to serve tons of different industries and tons of different kinds of sort of personas, then it gets a little bit confusing. But when you're clear about who you sell to, you're clear about who your customers are, it makes it a lot better for the customer service team, the customer success team as well. And so then so the N is navigate your customer journey. So create a really clear set of steps that not just the customer follows, but also that your team follows. You need to be able to show a very clear sequence of things that happens from the time that a customer says, yes, I want to be a customer, all the way through their first renewal and beyond. And so making sure that that's very, very clear is very important. And then T is transform your outcomes with playbooks. So when you take that customer journey, those are the key steps of a customer's advancement through your products and services. But the playbooks are the things that give your customer success team the step-by-step path to success. It's really like, okay, now you're going to send this email. Now you're going to have this conversation. Here's how I want a kickoff meeting to go. Here's what I want an internal knowledge transfer meeting to go, so that everybody's really clear about like, these are the expectations. Here's how you can be successful in your job. And when CSMs have that in front of them, it just gives them so much more confidence to be able to deliver. And then that confidence helps the customer, and it becomes this like virtuous cycle in the customer relationship. And that's the Mint method.
It's amazing. It's amazing because you're using power words here. And I want to, from everything that you said, Ali, I want to highlight that you use something so simple as clear. Because when we have our leadership when they have clear goals and they have clear bullseye, again, that once you're going to start reading this book, you're going to see what we're talking about. It makes everything easy, even from the start, from day number one, when you're starting in a company and you start to feel that part. So you're starting being part of something. And that's what I love about the Mint and also your book. And talking about your book, what would people expect once they're reading it?
So the book, I really tried to help people understand the value of loyalty and to be able to think about it from a strategic perspective, like what does loyalty do for you and do for your company? And what's the difference between, say, somebody who just buys multiple times and a truly loyal customer? Because you can get confused and think that just because a customer purchases over and over again, that they are loyal. And if you think that, then you might start designing product features for them or marketing messages for them. And they may just be buying from you purely out of convenience. And what I call that in the book is lazy loyalty. It may not matter what your marketing is or the product features. They may just be buying from you purely because you're convenient. And the example that I talk about in the book is, when I worked at the New York Times Company, I got off the subway at a particular subway stop. I would go to work every day, and I would always stop at the same coffee place. And I get, coffee and something to eat for breakfast. And every single day I went to them and I bought. And, this guy probably thought that I was really loyal. But the day that I got another job and I moved my office, I never went back to that coffee cart again. And so if he was depending on me, like I didn't care about, his marketing messages or anything like that. I just cared about buying coffee and a donut from him or a bagel from him because he was between my subway stop and my office door. And so that to me is a perfect example of a lazy loyal. And you can really get taken off course because I looked like a good customer, and I was a good customer, but my motivations were not so great. It was just, and so what you want in a business is to really think about the folks who are excited to be there. They want to build a relationship with you. They're invested, and those people are worth so much more. Never once did I say, oh, you got to go to my coffee guy. Like
Right.
my coffee guy is amazing. But those are the customers that you want to have in your business, right? And for people that have customer success roles, companies probably doing something a little bit more sophisticated than selling coffee. I mean, not to say that coffee isn't big business, it definitely is, but the probability is that you're doing something where the customer relationship is a little bit more involved. And so you really need to be able to differentiate between those people that are with you out of convenience and the ones that you have a real business relationship with, because that's where you can make so much more money, but also, that's where you're going to learn such important information about the kinds of customers that really drive your business.
Absolutely. And Ali, when I was reading your book, you're touching on a strategic, but me as a customer success manager, I'm able to understand why things are going to happen and why they're happening. When you give out a strategy, sorry, when you give out a strategy in your book, maybe if I'm not in the leadership level to implement that, but once implemented, or maybe if it's already implemented, I can see as well the value of that when I read your book. And it's the ideal scenario for all of us to have those lucrative loyals as well. Because as we know, having a new customer, it's so expensive. And even though they come to us and they are already part of our customer portfolio, we still need at least a couple of renewals for that to be successful. So, and you touch on three really important words, and that's part of today's episode title. We want them to feel seen, heard, and valued. And I wanted to ask you, Ali, when it comes to making them feel those emotions, because these are emotions, and you also talk about data, and we're going to talk about that. What are the keys to make our customers seen, heard, and valued?
Yeah, it's so true. It's such an important part of the customer relationship. And, sometimes I think as CSMs, it's easy to get really pulled into like the data side of things, and data is super important. You got to have that. But really, you're building relationships with people. And, that's, it builds when you are thinking about how am I making people feel seen, heard, and valued, you're thinking about how can I build trust? How can I, make people feel good about the thing that they've purchased, the products and services that they've purchased, so that they want to, stay longer and buy more and, tell all their friends. And one of the key ways to do that is by, really listening to the customers when they talk. So often I think CSMs, like you're going through a kickoff meeting deck, you're going through a business review meeting deck, something like that. And you're just like, I got to hit my, I got to like tell them their data points. And then I got to tell them about the new features that they just got and ask them if they wanted to set up a demo. And you're like, boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom.
I have
and
to execute.
Right. But if that customer walks away feeling like they've been bombarded with information and that they haven't been heard, then it doesn't matter how great your pitch was for that new feature. They're not going to feel like they're in a place where they are open to wanting to even try it. And I see this all the time, like a company will walk into a business review meeting and they have, open tickets, and maybe they're a little bit frustrated with some product things that have not gone exactly right. And if they walk into the meeting and the customer success manager doesn't acknowledge the reality of where things are with the relationship, doesn't say, hey, I followed up on your tickets and I just wanted to, before we get into this deck, I wanted to share with you what I learned and here's what's going on. And I just want you to know that I'm on top of this for you, right? Like all of those things that build trust, that, by the way, just take a few minutes from the CSM to do and to take the time to like follow up and take, look into what's going on with this customer before you jump into the meeting. But And, so if you do that, then all of a sudden that changes the dynamic between you and the customer. They walk in and, you hit them right away with like, I'm listening to you. I am caring for you. My role is to take care of you. And I take that seriously. Then they don't have to be as defensive in the
Mhm.
meeting of like, yeah, but what about our tickets? Right. And so, once they feel like, okay, this person's on top of it, they're caring for me, then they can be more available for the conversation of like, what does the future look like? How can we grow with you? And so it's really about, I think I've talked about a few things here. It's about, listening, but it's
Mhm.
also about taking some initiative and prioritizing, making these customers feel like they are important to you, making them feel seen, heard, and valued in the meeting. And so, those are just a couple of the ways that any CSM can do that. And sometimes that's easier said than done. I know that, calendars are booked and you're going from meeting to meeting to meeting.
Time
And
management. Oof.
right. And those 5 or 10 minutes that it takes to send out a couple of Slack messages and say, like, hey, what's going on with this ticket? I'm going into a QBR or whatever it is. That may feel like it's too much time,
Mhm.
but the value of you spending that time really pays off when you're in that conversation with the customer. And it pays off for you in so many ways, not the least of which is you're going to have a way more pleasant conversation
Oh
with
my
this
God.
customer.
That's like 50% of the job they're done.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it opens you the door for you to even have difficult conversations in a better way
Right.
because you're already building that bridge.
Yeah. And not to, and then, and then on top of that, like the enjoyment of your day is going to be a lot
Mm,
better if you're in a meeting where it's not combative and you feel like you get to collaborate and even sort of be thoughtful and strategic about where this customer is going and how they can use your products and services at a deeper level. That those few minutes really pay off on so many levels as you go through your day.
absolutely. And you're changing also the day of the customer. You're changing your day, you're changing the customer's day. And that's part of standing out from all of those other people who want something from that customer. There's some small initiatives that we can do ourselves, and leadership plays an important piece of this in this part. But if we are able in an ideal world to make the decision to send a birthday card to your customer, or if they are just gonna be they're about to be parents, so that makes it different. We in our here in Germany, our insurance company, they sent my wife last week a birthday card, handwriting, something so simple. And we saw it, I was like, wow, that's customer experience. Let's focus on lazy loyals. How can we make those lazy customers grow into lucrative loyals?
Sometimes there's a way and sometimes there's not, right?
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
and so I think that one thing that you have to do is be realistic about some of those customers. I mean, if I go back to that coffee stand example, once I moved my office to a different part of town, there was really no good reason that I was ever going to go back to that coffee stand. Maybe if I was in that part of town and I was going to be like, oh yeah, I remember the good coffee and like good conversation that I had with the guy that I would see every morning. And, so even just, even in that most simple example, I think you got to be realistic about the fact that when there may be good reasons why people leave. And sometimes I think that in companies, like everything rolls downhill to the CSM. Like, well, why did they churn? Why did they leave?
Yeah.
And there are good reasons sometimes why people do, and you have to be realistic about that. And when CSMs feel like they're being held responsible for like every moment of churn that
Mm.
by leadership, like that's not reasonable. It's not fair. Not like life is always fair, but it's not good business. You need to be able to be, you need to look out for the customer's best interest. Sometimes what you can do with lazy loyals is even when somebody leaves for a good reason, if you give them a good exit, and I know that this isn't exactly the question that you asked, and I'll come back to it.
But I know
But
where
if,
you're going, and I like that too.
but if you give somebody a good exit path and it's really gracious and it's professional and you offboard them well, then when that person goes to their next job, they may say, you know what, we had to cut XYZ company for some reason, because of budget, because of whatever. But man, they were so professional. I really liked working with them. Like, let's check them out. And so you never know where somebody's going to move to in their next role. And you can retain people and keep them loyal, even if you lose the account in the short term. So that's one thing. But then when we're talking about lazy loyals, it's like, yeah, they may have come to you out of convenience originally, but when you are able to sort of listen to them and understand, like, what are their goals? What are they trying to accomplish? How can I upgrade their level of loyalty so
Right.
that they are a little bit more invested? They may have just bought you to solve a problem. They might have bought you out of convenience. But if you provide a really good service for them and you show them, like, oh, you know what, we're solving this problem for you right now. But actually, if you upgrade to our next tier, we can solve all these other problems for you.
Mhm.
And by listening to them and hearing that they have all these other problems, that opens the door to a bigger conversation. So just because somebody entered the entered the relationship as a lazy loyal, again, by listening, by understanding their business problems and helping to solve them and being thoughtful from their perspective, you can make them more loyal, and you can get more business out of it in an authentic way.
In an authentic way. There, you explain a strategy, or you give an initiative actually, which is recognize and also celebrate.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about what strategies, besides all of the strategies that you just gave, but what strategy could we recommend those customer success managers who are not still in leadership, but they can come with an initiative where it might not cost that much effort, time, and energy, but enough to give more value than the cost of producing that. And I was thinking about recognizing and also celebrating. So can we touch a little bit on that, Ali?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you were talking about the cards, I was thinking about that part of the book, and the difference between recognition and celebration. So, when you recognize what a customer is doing, you're basically like looking at their behavior and you're saying, like, I see that you're doing such and such. And,
Mhm.
like, this is so great. And, you're giving them sort of, you're taking the time to recognize their actions and identify that they've taken them, and again, this is something that takes time, but it's also something that you can automate. And so finding, like, what are those things that customers do that you can, like, identify and recognize. Celebration is something that you sort of generate yourself. So recognition is customer generated, celebration is company generated. So when you talk about that birthday card, that's something that the company says, okay, we're going to find out what our customers' birthdays are, and we're going to send a birthday card. And we're either going to actually handwrite it, or we're going to hire somebody to handwrite it on our behalf, or we're going to create a printed card that looks like handwriting. And I don't know which one you got. um,
Oh, that's possible. Okay.
and I don't want to burst your bubble,
You
but
just
it may not.
did. You just did.
But it's something that says, like, we know that if we do something as little as noticing when our customers have a birthday and we
Mhm.
send a card, that they feel really valued. There's a company in the United States called Chewy.com, and they sell pet stuff. And for a while, we were getting birthday cards for one of our dogs. And for some reason, we had, like, given them my dog's birthday. And so we got birthday cards from Chewy, and we got Christmas cards from Chewy.
Wow.
And I always thought, like, that was so impressive. And they did look handwritten. And I knew that they weren't, because they're a huge company. Like, I don't think that anybody is, sitting there saying like, oh, it's, Junie's birthday, we better send a card. I know it's automated, but the fact that they prioritize it as a company, the fact that they say, this is something that we want to spend our money on, this is something we want to, make the effort to do, that to me says a lot. And I always really appreciated those cards from Chewy in the same way that you appreciated the birthday card.
Absolutely.
It's a good choice. It's a little thing, but it's a great choice.
And it's a small reminder. Customer success, part of a lot of things that we do, it's also bring value, right? And remind the customer of the value that they're receiving, that they have received, and that they will receive. That's a good reminder, but also an emotional reminder, like something so simple, like a card, can make a big difference in the psychology side of us as a human being. Because that simple card just came to my mind, same as it came to your mind about the coffee you added in your book. So it's sometimes, and something that I learned talking with Rob Zambito, it's that it's not necessarily always important to over-engineer stuff. There are some times where simple things make a huge difference. We're touching about the emotional sides here, Ali, and that's a lot about the episode, customer experience, make your customer feel seen, heard, and valued. But we cannot leave aside when it comes to data, because data is also as important as the emotion. So it's also a complicated topic because it all depends in your company, your product, your customers. But what are your top 3 favorite data that you recommend us or everyone to actually start monitoring?
Yeah. So so the thing that I would love to say is that I think that the simple things are the really important ones. I think so often companies try to build something that's really complicated, and it's too much, and the CSMs are just getting overwhelmed. And it is so much better to create something that you can really do well, and then like build from success, versus trying to do too much too soon and just it dies because it's like, it's too overwhelming.
Right.
So I think, I like to say that, you win based on consistency, not complexity. And so, that's the thing that you can do. So in terms of metrics to measure, clearly like net revenue retention is like, that's the king or queen. Like that's the winning metric. It looks at, all of the key pieces that you want to be focusing on with your existing customers. And so, you're looking at upsells, you're looking at downsells, you're looking at churn, all in that one metric. And so, and it's really the key to growth. So NRR is the best one. And I'm actually right now I'm working on a calculator that I'm going to put on my website, and I don't know if it's going to be ready by the time your this episode comes out, but it'll be ready soon. And it'll not only allow you to calculate NRR on this calculator, but it will let you play with it. And so you can see, like, if we improve NRR, how much more money would we be able to make from our existing customers? And I think it's so important to be able to look at that and see if we just spent a little bit more time focusing on retention versus front end, net new customers, like how much more money could we be making as a company? Because it's usually a pretty big number.
It's a big percentage, it's a big number, it's a big impact. It's definitely where we all aim for that queen or king. It's unfortunately that we have to start wrapping up today's episode, Ali.
Oh no, so fast.
It's so fast, right? We all want to process all the good information that everyone is giving us, but there's one more question that I need to ask you. I need to know if you're ready for this.
I'm ready.
Let's see. I want to ask you the time that you fucked up and what did you learn from that?
I was fired from a job once, and I got sucked into a really like ugly political thing. I ended up on the losing end of it. Like there was sort of, that's just sort of the bottom line of what happened. And, I learned that for me, it was a really toxic company environment. And I knew that I should leave from the time that I started the job. And the thing that I took away from that is that, like, I need to listen to myself. I really need, like, my gut instincts are good. And, that voice that was saying, like, stop with this political BS, like, get out. And I just, because of the way that it went down, I was like, no, I'm going to stay. I want to win.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was so unimportant. And in the big picture, it made me miserable to be at that company. I was so glad to be gone, but I hated being fired. It was a terrible feeling, and it threw me for a loop for a while. Like, it was a long time ago. And so that's my takeaway, is like, your gut is probably really good. Like, when that little voice inside you says, like, excuse me, you should really listen to it.
Thank you for being open and telling us that, because it's not all about customer success, customer experience. It's also about you internally and what comes with that. And having that instinct is part of you, and it's gonna change as time comes. So thank you for that amazing story. Thank you for all of those details, strategies, initiatives. I need to continue. I need to find more words for that, because it was amazing. Ali, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, this has been it for today, but I really appreciate it. And for everyone else, remember, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time.